All right. Hey, everyone. Mark here. Let me know if my sound is okay. It might be a little loud. Anyway, thank you for joining me for another Greenbridge Investing market analysis. I apologize for the thing with the talking markets the other day. I had a computer situation that I had to solve, and I solved it. So now, I'm online. So anyway, thank you for joining me. So in this session, I want to talk about Bitcoin. Okay, I want to talk about the stock market real quick, and I want to talk about gold. I want to try to spend maybe 10 minutes on all those things, and then I want to get to your questions and spend as much time as possible on your questions. So if you have a question about a stock or a market, please share it in the chat now, so that when I get to the chat, I can get to your question. Okay, so with that being said, let's get started. All right, so this is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Now, so today I'm updating the forecast from Monday, right? So what the goal behind this is to be able to put together potential scenarios or get a sense of reward risk from the charts, from the clues that the charts give us for the next few days, okay? That's the idea here. This is not about predictions and all that other stuff. It's about getting a sense of reward risk. All right, so let's talk about Bitcoin first. So here's the thing. Andrew called that trade the other day, right? Right at that, beautiful. I mean, that was the setup we waited for. You realize that setup took 3 weeks. Took 3 weeks to get into this, okay? 3 weeks. I'm going to say that again. 3 weeks, basically. Now, the reason why I emphasize that so much is because people come to our chat room, right? We got people that come to our free trial and all that stuff, and they're looking for action, right? So they look at it for a day or two, they see no action, and then they cancel. Meanwhile, if they had waited a week maybe or two, the trade comes, because we take high quality swing trade setups. We don't just take any. So that's the thing. I mean, we don't force trades, and we waited and we waited and we waited. People were asking about the 39K, 38, 39K, right? We had people looking for longs up there. Not a place to go long. We said, stay away from it, stay away from it. We had people asking about shorts. I remember a guy asking me about a short, and I said, maybe as a day trade if you're interested in something like that, but this is the risk you face as a short. Okay, I mean, this candle right here, this green candle's 8,000 points. Basically, if you had shorted that thing from the bottom, if you got caught in the bottom of that and had no stop in place, okay, that is a huge amount of risk, right? For one, we don't short Bitcoin, but for people that were interested in doing something like that, if you took a larger magnitude, if you had a larger magnitude expectation, you get caught in this, okay? Anyway, so the point is now we're in this trade, right? The trade was right off of this high here, 34, basically at 34, the pin bar high. And here's the great things about this trade idea. For one, 30K is a major support. We've been talking about that for a long time. Okay, the reward risk on this candle is reasonable. It's only 4,000 points, right? So the risk is relatively not small, right? And the reward, I mean, to justify 4,000 points, it all has to go to 38K, which it's gone there. So we've reached one-to-one reward risk, and it didn't have to make any effort. It only took one candle. That's good reward risk, okay? Now, if it can't break 40K, hey, we have a strong hand. We have the luxury now of sitting back and letting the market figure itself out and not have to worry about the trade, because it's green, okay? We're only giving green back. We're not getting caught in anything here, right? So, I see a question here. Is it too risky to buy BTC now? Yes, it's too risky, because here's the thing. 40K is your resistance. So if it can't clear 40K, we're looking at 30K again. Keep something in mind. When you see a move like this, you're going to see a lot of chatter, a lot of talk, a lot of hype, and a lot of nonsense saying, oh, Bitcoin's going to go back to 60K by tomorrow, and all that other nonsense, right? Meanwhile, 40K has yet to be taken out. So as long as that resistance is intact, okay, this is a lower high. And lower highs typically lead to lower lows. This trade that we took was not a conservative trade. It was a high probability setup within a broad bearish environment, okay? So it's aggressive. It's aggressive because the trend is not exactly the smaller picture trend, I should say, not the bigger picture. the smaller picture, or I like to refer to as the momentum, is not exactly in our favor. This is still a lower high. Okay, so like I said though, we have the luxury of letting the market figure itself out, and we don't have to do anything. We just sit back and let everyone else worry about it, right? Because we're in from a good price, because we waited for the good price. Now, as far as getting in after this move, this is not a good place to get in. There is another possibility though. Again, we're here to talk about scenarios, and that would be the higher low, okay? So if we can get the higher low, somewhere around 35K, let's see, what is this area right here? Between 33.5 and 35. If you can get a bullish reversal somewhere in that area, that would be the next area to be looking for a swing trade. That the reward risk is not as good as where we got it, but it's still acceptable. It's still within reason, because even if you're risking 5,000 or 6,000 points, running to 40K is still a decent possibility off of that higher low, and you can justify your risk. Okay, it doesn't have to run to like 45K to justify your risk. You want to at least get to 1-to-1, and it shouldn't take the market a lot of effort to do that. Right? That's the whole idea behind reward risk. So anyway, that's the scenario I'd be looking for over the next few days. If nothing can develop here in that higher low area, if the market can't find support there, then we're looking at 30K again. What if it breaks 30K? Well, we get stopped out, right? Whatever. But hey, our risk wasn't that big, relatively speaking, and then you may see 26K or 20K, right, over the coming week if that level breaks. You can't make those predictions from here because we have a nice push, and we have to see if the higher low develops. You know, again, people want predictions, but anyone that gives you predictions is either fooling themselves or fooling you, because no one knows where the market's going to go. We have to make adjustments as new information appears. Okay, so that's what Bitcoin looks like right now. And by the way, this is going to affect all the altcoins, right? So, you know, a lot of people getting all excited about altcoins, and we had some alternate trades, and Andrew sent a bunch of stuff out over these previous couple of days. And, you know, he gave all the instructions with all that. There's going to be a lot of hype and a lot of talk. Again, if Bitcoin can't break that 40K, nothing is going anywhere, okay? Just so you know. Again, I'm not here to hype. I talk about reality. I promote reality, and I know no one wants to hear it. That's why I don't have any views. But that's the reality of the market. And really, if you want to make money, you really should be in tune with reality, not hope and hype. You know, another thing that I have to mention is people looking for action. If you're one of those people that's looking for action, you know, more action does not equate to more profitability. That's not the case at all. It's the quality, right? It's really quality over quantity, especially in this situation. So, you know, like I said, it took us 3 weeks to get into that trade. 3 weeks, all right, of waiting. You know, if you think about it, it's not hard to do nothing. You just do nothing. But for some reason, people have a hard time with it. Okay, cool. Oh, the mic is, I'm getting a complaint on the mic here. Okay, I have to make some adjustments since I had to reconfigure all my software. Let's see if I can adjust that mic a little bit. And I see it is pretty sensitive. I'm going to just try to adjust it here a bit. I may have to do some more work on that. Okay, I'm not going to do that now. So I tried to make an adjustment there. All right. Hold on a second. Okay. All right, so that's Bitcoin. Let's talk about stock market real quick. So again, if you have any questions, you know, put them in the chat. Now look at this. This is the NASDAQ 100. Okay, it's still open. We still have less than an hour before this thing closes. Look at this candle. So we've had a lot of questions about the SQQQ and getting short, you know, and all that other stuff. And while I like the location for a short because we are at a resistance, we're back in this zone, there's still no sell signal. Okay, there was one, it was trying to be a sell signal earlier today because it took out yesterday's low. But look at this. This is now a new buy signal. It took out two previous highs, and it's going to close strong, okay, right inside this resistance zone. It looks like the NASDAQ is going to go for a higher high. All right, let's take a look at the S&P real quick, okay? Look at the S&P, higher highs. So what's this going to do? It's going to lure lots of people who don't know any better They're going to look at their little Robinhood account and, oh, the stock market is a safe investment and the market keeps making new highs. I'm going to buy more stocks, right? Because the news told me to. Well, that's all fine and good, but the thing is, and I put this in the chat room earlier, this area here is a highly vulnerable area, okay? This whole area right there. So while the market can make a new high, which it's doing, the risk of retrace is very high. That is what you have to look at. That is not something you can see on the chart. So the thing is, in this area, if price can fail, and all it needs is some kind of catalyst that no one sees coming, and next thing you know, the S&P pulls back 50 points or whatever, and then you get a broader pullback. So what do you do in this situation? Very tough for swing trades, okay? Very tough for swing trades because the risk is so high. There are going to be stocks that are giving buy signals in this, but you're now basically buying the potential high of the market. This is not a support level, right? That's what you need to keep in mind. So, back to the NASDAQ here. So, you're going to see like your mainstream stocks, right? Like NVDA. Let's see. Oh, okay, trying to go higher today. How about Facebook? Oh, Facebook. Oh, they're not even pushing their highs, but they're near their highs. How's Amazon doing? Oh, Amazon. Okay, great. Amazon. Google. How about Google? On its highs, right? You're buying the high of the market. So, not a great place. Let's see stocks like Square. Now look at Square. Potential high or low, right? Okay, great. This is going to suck some people in. It may try to push this resistance a little higher, but it's got a long way to go before it gets back to its highs, which means if the market pulls back, right, stocks like Square are going to get hammered because they're not acting relatively strong. This should be on its highs, like Google, right? And it's not. So just something to keep in mind there. That's why for swing trades, if you're going to take some, look for uncorrelated stocks. All right, which Andrew talks about all the time, or just avoid the market stocks. Microsoft is a market stock because you're buying right into the high. Also, another thing to consider is day trades. We don't day trade. We don't call out day trades, but this is a good environment for day trades because you're not exposed to the broader magnitude of risk. Right, with a day trade, you're in, you're out, same day, whatever. If you get stopped out, it's a relatively small loss. You're not caught if the NASDAQ pulls back 300 points the next day, right? So that's the thing you have to keep in mind. Who's exposed in this situation? Long-term investors and swing traders. So that's why we avoid all that stuff, okay? This is not a support. I have to keep emphasizing that. It's a resistance. And as many of you know, I don't buy highs. Okay, so that's the NASDAQ. Basically, it's high risk. Let's take a look at XAU, USD. This is gold. Now, this situation, again, I pay zero attention to news. I don't care what the news says because charts tell me stuff that news doesn't account for, basically, okay? And it's priced all that. If by the time you hear that public news, it's been priced in, it's ancient, and it's not even relevant anymore by the time you get to it, right? If it's free, if it's a free resource. If you know someone on the inside and they're telling you something that no one else knows, that's quality news. All right, so let's take a look here. The reason why I'm mentioning gold is because if we take a look at ZN, these are the bond futures, okay? 10-year note futures. Look at this move. So that, higher prices mean lower yields, which is in line with the inflationary scenario. So if we're getting inflation, obviously good for gold, okay? Also good for stocks generally, right? Stocks like inflation. So we have this outside bar that's developed on gold, and it's a bullish pin bar. This little structure here on gold, because gold tried to pull back, right? This structure right here is that's a mini wave 4, okay? Why is it not a wave 2? Because wave 2 was here, right, by wave 1. This is a wave 4. So there's another leg to go. That leg can take us to 1950 or even 2000 again on something like gold. So this is aggressive because this, it may get caught and you may have, the risk is much higher than when we originally got in, right? That trade, by the way, we got out at 1880. That was a nice trade. It took 2 months for it to develop, but there is another signal developing there, okay? And gold is in a seasonal bullish time, so there's plenty of room for this thing to go higher. So this may be a swing trade idea that I send out. Okay, the low on this candle here is 1869. This thing right now is at 1898. I mean, so you're looking at maybe 30, maybe 40 points of risk. right? And there's still plenty of potential on this thing. If this thing goes to 1950, you're basically, just over 1-to-1, which is reasonable for a wave 5 leg. Okay, so definitely like gold and gold miners. Let's see, WPM. Okay, look at this. We've been in these since February, March, when no one was talking about gold, when people were saying gold was obsolete and Bitcoin is the new gold, right? Oh, we don't need gold, we have Bitcoin. Right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the great advice, expert institutional people on TV. Okay, so that's Wheaton Precious Metals. What about AG? Okay, look at this. First Majestic Silver, I called this trade back in March, whatever, I don't have the date on this thing, but look where it is, okay, 1832, so it's right back to its first target, right, that it reached its first target previously, pulled back, but like we've been saying with these things, there's really nothing to do, you just let them ride, let them do their job, okay, and it's doing its job, nice higher low, looking for the higher high, that's why I'm very optimistic on gold. So this thing can, this AG is a low float stock, and this thing can pop, right? As we saw back here, this action back here was because of the low float, high short interest type of situation. So we can get that kind of action here again. Anyway, that's what's going on there, right? So definitely optimistic about those, and I may send out that signal, all right, to our members. All right, so those are the things I wanted to talk about. Let's get to your questions here. All right, I'm pretty much on time. Let's see what you guys have. And it's, again, I appreciate everyone's questions. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope that I can fix this microphone quality. Again, I have to make some adjustments to this thing. All right, so let's see what we have here. All right, Wedge, good to see you. Okay, so I answered that question, X, okay. Ayed, good to see you. Oh, Texas, right, nice. Okay, Zelta from Riga, Latvia. Okay, cool. What do you think of OR? Let's take a look at OR, L'Oreal. So I guess that's... is that right? Let me see. Hold on. OR L'Oreal. I'm showing a different. I don't know if I'm getting the right symbol here. OR. Okay. Maybe you can. Let me know if that's the right symbol. Osisco Gold Royalties. Okay, but you put L'Oreal next to it, so I'm not sure if I have the right symbol. So let me know on that one. Okay, let me see what else I got here. Okay, Javier, good to see you. All right, cool. Alex, okay, good to see you too. All right, so hopefully, I have to fix it. Mike Shayshank, nice to see you. Jesse from Poughkeepsie, good. Thanks for joining us. My one of my New Yorkers. I have two of them now. Jesse, and then I have the other guy from the city. Okay, thanks again. Okay, no problem. Nice. Okay, yeah. Wave 4s are very difficult. Thoughts on Sens? Okay, that's interesting. Where did you get that one from? Sens. Oh, look at this thing go. I mentioned this thing as a potential trade of the week like 2 weeks ago. Sens happens to be a high short float. Okay, and now look at this thing go. I can't believe this. Obviously that gap right there is news. Okay, there was news obviously over here. Now look at this thing on its way. Okay, you can't touch this thing now. If you were not in it off of that consolidation, if you weren't in it, and I talked about this stupid stock when during our show, again, it had to be like 3 weeks ago. I mentioned it as a possibility. We didn't choose it. We chose something else. But wow. So you can't do anything with this now. You have to let this thing, if you're in it, great, take profits if you're in it. If you're not in it, nothing to do. All right, what you have to do is wait for a pullback of some kind. And right now, your levels on SENS, you have this gap area, which can act as a support. So you're looking at, what is that, $2.50 around there, maybe slightly lower. That's one possibility for a long. Otherwise, you need some kind of pullback. You don't want to buy these highs. Definitely not, because you're taking all the risk and you're letting out all the people that bought at those lows. So nothing to do there, but interesting to see that. Okay, anyway, thanks for bringing that one up. Okay, let's see what else. To get into BTC, is a good idea to put a buy limit order at 35 or just wait? Okay, no, so that's a good question. That's a good question about Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin high or low. Let's go back to Bitcoin here for a second. So the question is, is it a good idea to put a limit order around that high or low area? And the answer is no. It's very high risk, because the thing is, there's no guarantee that price will hold there. It might hold, okay? So it's better in this situation, because again, it's not like the trend is, or I should say, not trend. the bigger picture trend is still bullish, but the momentum is not exactly favorable. The recent structure is not favorable. So there's a better chance it clears that area without any hesitation and goes back to 30K. So you're just asking for trouble, right? By just putting a limit order in there. Wait for price action to confirm. So if it gets back to this price area, you want to see a bullish pin bar. You want to see an inside bar develop. You want to see something that says, hey, price is not going lower, buying activity is appearing, okay? You want to see something like that. Like, for example, I mean, something like this over here, this type of situation. You know, you want to see something like that develop there. And that would be much better in terms of getting in when the structure is slightly more favorable. Keep in mind, it's very easy for this thing to fake out, right? It gives you the buy signal and then the next candle just breaks it. I mean, that can happen. That's why you have to use stops until this structure is cleared, which it's not, you know, that the bearish side still has slightly more favor. Okay, that's why I said this long signal is highly aggressive because of that situation. All right, in order for that to change, 40K needs to be cleared, right? Resistances hold in a bearish momentum environment. They don't stick, and this thing so far is stuck. All right, the support is likely to break. If the support holds again, then, you know, eventually at some point this will, you know, Bitcoin will find strength and it will start taking out resistances. But until then, you know, we have to wait until it gives us that type of structure. All right, that's the more conservative way to go about it. So good question. Thanks for asking. All right, let me see what else I got here. Could you please look at SURF? All right, let's take a look. SURF, is that a stock? I'm guessing that's a stock. All right, so looking back here, so I see this is probably like a biotech sort of stock. You have this bullish attempt, right, after this pullback. It took out this resistance here, back here. So you're in a potential higher low area, okay, is what you're in. So you're coming off of a pullback. Those are all good things. Today's candle is not exactly favorable for longs. So the best thing to do in this situation is you have the location, wait for, if you're looking for a long, wait for the price action. Wait for the candles to confirm that. You want to see maybe an outside bar or a bullish pin bar develop here, something in this area where you can measure your risk from. Because right now, if this momentum continues, it can go slightly lower, even though you're in this support area, which is around 7.5. So I would just wait a little bit more on that and you know, let that thing do its thing. Because here's the thing. You have this, it broke this little support area here, which if it was going to maintain this bullish structure, it shouldn't have done that. So even though this is not exactly bearish yet, it could be turning that way. So that's why it's better to wait for the confirmation. Otherwise, you know, it's just a total gamble. So thank you for bringing that one up. But I definitely see it as a long. I don't see it as a short. Okay, so thank you for that one. Let me see what else we got here. Bojan, I'm sorry if I don't pronounce your name correctly. From Vienna, nice. What is your opinion about SB1? Oh, sugar. Sugar. Okay, let's take a look. I don't get too many questions about those type of markets. So here we go. This is refined sugar. By the way, you shouldn't eat a lot of it. I do. I love refined sugar. Anyway, so the price of sugar here, it looks like it's $17.67. This, by the way, all these, right, whether it's sugar, whether it's lumber, whether it's hogs, whether it's corn, okay, they're basically going to react to the inflationary situation, and inflation will be reflected in these things. So if we're getting inflation, they should go higher, okay? But basically, you have that pressure on them, and we've been seeing that, okay? Meanwhile, the Fed says, inflation's transitory. Right. Thanks, Captain Obvious. It's not transitory. We have inflation, all right? But again, they you know, they don't want to overreact. They don't want to sound like they're overreacting, so they always keep it very, you know, normal sound. It sounds like normal. Like, oh yeah, it's only transitory. It's okay. It's okay. Anyway, point is, inflation. So, as far as buying this thing, this is not a great level because you are at a resistance. Okay. So if there is any anti-inflationary talk, you know, this would be a great place for sugar to sell off. So the risk is high, in other words. So you're better off waiting if you want to get involved in this. Your first support is 1686, this area right there. So that would be a much better spot. If it breaks that area, then you're looking at slightly lower. You're looking at this area here, 1572. Those are your prices to anticipate buying activity for sugar. Okay. Of course, price action should confirm that. Again, this is going to be very sensitive to dollar. Anything inflationary, anything dollar, that affects the dollar, interest rates, that kind of stuff. Keep in mind also, we have the G7 meeting. I think it starts today, or maybe it's been going on the whole week. I don't know, but I know it's tomorrow and Saturday and whatever. And you never know. Some dumb news can come out of that, right? And that can affect these things. So just so you're aware. So anyway, I don't trade news. Like I said, watch those levels, right? Because the broader picture is generally bullish here. It doesn't look bearish to me. You just have to find support levels and try to avoid these resistance. Now, I could be wrong. It may break higher if you get some more bullish news, but the risk you have to take is high. So, if you're open to that risk, then you could try to define it from 1730, but your chances of getting stopped out there are very high. So you have to decide if that's right for you or not. Also, these are more sophisticated instruments, so hopefully you understand the details. I remember there was someone a while back. She was new, brand new, and she was following some agency, and the agency was putting her in all these ridiculous markets like this one. And I'm like, how long have you been involved in? Oh, I just started. And they have you in like lumber. I'm like, what is up? So if you're like brand new, you shouldn't trade these instruments. Okay, so I assume that you're not new, and you have an idea of how these things work. So anyway, thanks for asking. Ian, could you elaborate on why you don't short BTC? With proper risk management, I'm not sure how shorting... Okay, good question. That's a good question. So first of all, for Bitcoin, it's a function of leverage. We don't use leverage. So in order to go short, you have to use leverage. All right. So you can short a futures contract or whatever, and there's leverage involved. We don't get involved in that because it's unnecessary. You don't have to play both sides of a market to come out ahead, which we've proven over and over again. For two, you're fighting a market that's generally bullish. Okay, like with the low float and all that other stuff that Bitcoin has, it's just not worthwhile in the long run. It just opens us up to more mistakes and potential losing trades, right? So that's why our swing trade strategy is long only for instruments like Bitcoin. But the primary reason is really the risk associated with the leverage. All right, so that's why we don't short these things. We don't short Bitcoin or any altcoins. I don't care if Bitcoin goes to 3,000. I remember back when Bitcoin went to 3,000, people used to criticize me, and they used to say, "Oh, most of the money is made on the short side." Right, Bitcoin went to 65K. So I guess that guy was wrong. So anyway, good question. All right, Bitcoin may fake out near 42K. So Shashank, you bring up an interesting point. This whole area above 40K, it's a vulnerable area. Just like with the S&P fooling around near its high, this is a resistance area. So because we're in a broad wave 4, I'm not anticipating big moves for Bitcoin. Like I'm not anticipating Bitcoin back to 60K anytime soon. What I am anticipating, and I talk about this every time, so for those of you that follow me, I'm anticipating this, okay? Gold, if you look at gold from the March low going back from August to March, I'm going to cover the bullish activity that we've seen. But if you look at this price action here from the August peak, that's what I'm expecting Bitcoin to be like, something like that. That was about 8 months worth of price action right there. Bitcoin can persist for something like that. Maybe Bitcoin goes for 2 years like it's done previously. And just basically stays in the consolidation for over a year. It can do that. So because of that, and because that's basically what a wave 4 is, we adjust our expectations accordingly. A lot of people maybe they come out with their exaggerated views, like, oh yeah, Bitcoin's going to be back at 60K in 1 month. I guarantee it. Right? That's not reasonable for a wave 4. So wave 4s are typically they're full of false starts. They're full of a lot of fake outs. So until it proves otherwise, those are the expectations, which means we adjust our targets lower, right? We don't have 60K targets on that trade we have. So anyway, thank you for asking. Let me see what else we have here. All right, Zelta. I'm an OR, L'Oreal, Euronext Paris. Oh, okay. So let me go back to the list. I didn't read the list. Thank you for correcting me on that. Here we go. All right, so L'Oreal, the stock. Wow, look at this thing. Damn, they're selling a lot of makeup or something. It must be makeup season. What is going on here? Man. Okay, well, you can't do anything with this. This is, I mean, yeah. When something goes vertical, this looks like an altcoin. This looks like Cardano back in February. You can't do anything with this. All right, it's on its highs. So this is great if you're in it, and you're in it from a lower price. Definitely should be selling and distributing risk, getting out, locking in while you can, while people are willing to take it off your hands. This is a place to sell. Okay, not short. It's a place to lock in profits. All right. If you don't have it, can't do anything with this. The risk of retrace, I mean, this could be the peak. Maybe it goes a little higher and then it peaks. You just don't know. So you stay away from it. But it's a beautiful chart. So the next question that you ask is, where are the supports? Where should you buy it if you want to get involved? And clearly, it's a strong stock. So you look for the support levels. Okay, there's one right there. And that price level, let's see, is around 346. So you could round that to about 350. Okay, that's one level right there. You have a minor support right around here, this little area here, which is what? What is that? Around 368, 370, something like that. That's what you're looking at there. So those are the first supports that you'd be looking for bullish reversals off of. If it clears those supports, then you got to hold off, because the next major support is off this consolidation break. Look at this consolidation break. I want to just point this out. People may not see it because it's after the fact. But at one point, L'Oreal was consolidating, right? You see it? The range high was over here at 321, basically. And the range low was around 292, basically around 290-ish, that area there. Now, you see this attempted breakout? It broke out and it failed, and it went back into the middle of the range, and then it just went higher and higher and higher. These situations, I talk about these sometimes, where, I usually say don't buy the middle of a range, okay? But if it breaks out first and then tests the middle of the range, a lot of times that middle will now act as a support. There's a reason for that. Like, I don't just make that up because I've made some random observations like a lot of these fakes do. There's a reason for this, right? It's because a lot of people get short, and when it goes against them, they're happy to get out, all right? And so it becomes buying activity. Plus, all the longs that missed the pop are looking for the pullback, and that pressure together can lead to something like this. So anyway, man, that thing is nuts. So thank you for bringing this one up. It's a great one for the radar. L'Oreal, all right? And yeah, buy some more makeup, man. All right, great stock. Okay, AMPY, who? I like your name. Who? Who? Yeah, who? 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 All right, here's Amplify Energy. So Amplify Energy, nice higher low action. Okay, now here you're at this resistance right here. So bad location. Although you have another mini higher low, because the trend is clear. Like, I don't have to say anything about that trend. It's bullish. You have another mini higher low over here. Now, where there's a higher low often leads to a higher high. But you're at an area where people sold off dramatically one time. So, and as you can see, the selling activity has entered the market. You could see some red candles there. But it's not following through. Usually, when you get selling activity and it's serious, right, if it's relevant, you get a sharp sell-off. This is not sharp at all. You have a higher low. So this is an aggressive, if you go for something like this, okay, it's an aggressive breakout. If you look for this breakout, it would be $4, 4 even would be the breakout. Your risk can be defined at 363. You figure around 350, and you need follow through. If it fails again, you're looking at that broader pullback, because this is it's in fake out territory, okay? Although the trend favors a higher high. So it's a little bit of a conflicted idea because of the location. If this wasn't at the high like this, it was much lower. It was coming off of like an area like let's forget all this here. And if it was coming off, if this is all we had, was something like this, okay, that would be much more sensible, because you're coming off of a nice pullback, okay? This is not a high, clearly, it's a low. It's a support, okay? And then, that's what you're looking for, something like that. So that's what makes this less attractive. But definitely another good one for the radar. If it breaks below that 350 area, then you're going to have to wait for some lower supports, maybe around the 250 area, something like that. Or maybe it goes into a broad consolidation, which gives you a range low at around the 250. Okay, so thank you for asking about AMPI. It's a good one to keep on the radar. Shuai, hey, thank you for joining. Shanghai, nice. I learned a lot from your analysis, really helpful. Could you please take a look at AAL? Okay, no problem, from Shanghai. By the way, I love to hear where people are from. I always think it's amazing. Usually on TradingView, I get so many countries from like across the whole world, and no one. I get 2 guys from New York now, 2. I had 1 guy from New Jersey. All right, so Okay, so this I talked about this the other day. These type of stocks, like because someone brought up Carnival Cruise Lines, CCL, and here's the thing with these. It's the what do you call it? The comeback play, right? Everyone's going back out again, and everyone blah 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 blah. That's an old news game. Okay, I would stay away from these stocks. First of all, you have a double top here. Technically, you have a double top over here. You have a bearish close here. There's nothing to do here. I wouldn't touch this thing long. If anything, you wait for the range lows to get involved in something like this. If you're not in it, if you're in it, I don't know what to tell you here. Hopefully, you're not in this. This thing, there's no reason to buy it right now, and it's trying to work its way back into the middle of the range. I don't like these conventional wisdom Captain Obvious plays, because the smart money got into these things a long time ago. All right, so you're just taking it off their hands. Anyway, so thank you for bringing that one up. It's a good question. Hey Anna, nice to see you. What do you think of Okay, let's take a look. All right. So now look at this stock. All right, came off of that low. Let's see. So Teladoc Health. First thing is I'm looking for the trend here. Let's zoom out a bit. All right, so the general trend is generally bullish. Higher lows, higher highs. We had this corrective move here more recently, okay? And it took out this support area. So that's not exactly bullish, right? It's not exactly continuing that broader trend. Now, more recent than that, so it established a low and you get this little mini higher low. But here's the thing. This break, right, this support break is not good, okay? It should not have done that. So what that means is the broader trend is maybe more neutral, more in a consolidation, or maybe it's bearish. The thing is, you have this support is now a resistance. So what is that? 173, 174, and this right here could turn into a lower high. So I don't like even though the more recent you have the higher low and this bullish close today, you're fighting something that's not very attractive in terms of a swing trade long anyway, because you have all that to deal with. Okay. Now again, I could be wrong. Maybe it wants to push through that, but a more conservative thing to do in this situation is let it clear that resistance first, then let it give you a pullback. Okay, because again, the risk here you're facing is a potential lower high, even though it tried to do that over here and it has failed to accomplish that. Okay, fine, but it can still do it because it hasn't cleared this resistance, right? Kind of like what Bitcoin is doing. Needs to clear that resistance before it really becomes attractive again. And that's a process that we just like to call stability, right? And it's just not there yet. So that's that one. Thank you for asking about that one. And the other one was that Melly. Okay, Melly, which I believe is Mercado Libre. Oh, look at this pop. That's interesting. We were just talking about this one the other day. So now this consolidation is in a much healthier spot, first of all, okay? Because as you could see, it established the support level here and it held the level, okay? Compared to the TDOC, which broke the level, this one basically held the level. And now you have this higher low and this nice push off of that. Okay, not only that, but you have the first resistance that's being attempted right here, the first resistance. So here's the thing. Buying this right now is highly aggressive because of the size of the candle and it hasn't cleared that resistance, but the structure is good. It's good. So the risk is high because look, 1316 is this low right here. I'm going to highlight that. 1316 is that low. If you buy this thing right now at 1373, that's where your risk is defined from right now. So that's kind of, that's kind of a wide range candle. You can go for that, but you need to justify that. You need to justify making, 60 or 70 points, in the next move to at least reach 1-to-1, which is possible, right? 1518 is really where your next resistance is, right? It's right around this area here. So if it clears this one is 1394, so basically 1400. So it's it's a worthwhile try. You just have to be willing to accept that risk and size appropriately, okay? But it's definitely a much better situation than TDOC. This one I would call for a swing trade, an aggressive one, because of the size of that candle and the amount of risk you have to take. But nice one, and there's plenty of opportunity, or plenty of potential, I should say, because reaching the midpoint of its range is usually a reasonable thing to do. And if you reach that midpoint, you're at 1-to-1, which is good, okay? You don't need this thing to push all the way to the high, which is much harder for it to do if it's inside of this consolidation. So definitely a good candidate there. Definitely a good one for a swing trade. Thank you for asking about that one. Okay, Anna. Okay, go forth and multiply. Okay, not really go forth. You didn't really miss too many. I think I had one or two. Shayshank, BTC. Okay, hold on. 3,000 level is buying level. Others are expected 200. Okay, yeah. So no, I was just making fun of the people that were making fun of me a year ago when Bitcoin was at 3,000 over a year ago, and we weren't shorting it. Anyway, so all right, so that's mainly, that's all I've answered all the questions because I'm not on TradingView today. That's why. If I was on TradingView, I'd have like 1,000 more questions to answer. So do I have any more questions? I still got some time here. I'd love to answer your questions. Let's take a look while you're asking your questions. And let me know also if my mic, someone mentioned, gave me a comment about my mic earlier because I was asking about that. Let me know if my mic sounds different to you. I got a comment that it was noisy. Okay, so I got to make some adjustments to my equipment here. So just let me know. Okay, so let's take a look at some altcoins. Okay, or before that, let's take a look at CGC. This is a trade. We sent out this one as a swing trade as well, just the other day. Nice higher low. This is a good example of an uncorrelated stock. It doesn't follow the S&P very well. It moves on its own. All right, and this thing is more sensitive to news, cannabis sector news and blah blah blah. And this thing has reached its first target, so this thing may have some potential. Over the next few months, this thing may work its way higher. So definitely want to keep an eye on. It's the leader in the cannabis space. When everyone gets all excited about these, that's when you want to be getting out of them. When no one's talking about them or they're really just out of favor, that's really when you should be getting into them. Okay, just like gold in February and March. Everyone was hating gold. All right, let's take a look at XRP. XRP USD. Now look, so I'm bringing this up here because of hype, all right? So, back in February, March was the peak of the garbage coins. I mean, every garbage coin was making highs and highs and highs. I think it was Shayshank. Was it you that always used to ask me about XRP? It was you or maybe it was Shubham. But someone would always ask me about XRP, and I know he had some from a good price, but look at this. Okay, so Bitcoin had that nice push, and XRP is negative today. Negative. That's not good. Okay, so that's what I mean about this. This is supposed to be a follower, and it can't even follow. It's relatively weak. Not only that, but you have a lower high established. These are garbage coins, all right? And a lot of people are going to get caught. If these things go out of favor and Bitcoin, goes into like a deeper area of wave 4, meaning it goes to like 26K. Look at Litecoin. What's the story here, okay? I mean, it tried to follow Bitcoin, tried that push, and this just doesn't look so good, okay? That's not really what it should be doing. So, there's a lot of people in hope mode, and they shouldn't have bought at these highs. And what do I always warn about the highs? I don't buy highs. This is why I don't buy highs. Now people are stuck in these things, and they're hoping. And all those gurus, I still see gurus on YouTube pumping and optimism and pumping optimism and blah, blah, blah. The charts aren't saying it. So anyway, okay, Zelta has a question. NFLX, let's take a look. Netflix. So Netflix, now this Netflix is a FANG stock. And here's the thing, this stock sucks. Here's why. NASDAQ is almost at 14K, and this thing is here? This thing is not good. That's relative weakness. This thing should be doing much better, like the others in the FANG group, right? Like Google and Amazon, and right? Why is this thing here? So even though you can say, but it's a higher low possibly, if I make that a little bigger, right? It's a higher low, it's a bullish pin bar. Yeah, okay, that's true. But the thing is, with a FANG stock, this is a market stock. So you have to look at this in light of the market. You can't look at this thing on its own. A stock like CGC, you can look at it on its own because it doesn't really follow the market. This thing follows, or it should be following the market. The NASDAQ is on its highs, and this thing is nowhere near, which means if the NASDAQ or S&P get into that vulnerable area and sell off, this thing will most likely break supports. So no way, NFLX. No NFLX, no effing way. Okay, I'm just gonna say it's a bad joke because I don't have any words for LX. But anyway, yeah, I wouldn't go near this thing because of that relative weakness. All right, nice potential setup and location, but not in light of the S&P. And when it comes to these, you must consider the S&P. Okay, Wedge. Mike sounds a little hollow or tinny. Okay, so yeah, I had to lower the volume. Yeah, I have to reset. I had to reset a lot of my settings. So I got to figure out how to improve that mic situation. I got to, I'm not going to do it now, obviously, but I'll figure that out. Thank you for the feedback. Any other mic feedback? Because the sound quality is very important for these things. When things don't have good sound quality, it just makes it much harder to watch. So I understand. I definitely want to improve that. So thank you for the feedback. Mic level high. Okay. All right. So mic's level's a little high. Hack is saying. All right. Let me see if I could maybe lower that now a little bit, or maybe not. No. Okay. No. I'll try to have this fixed for next time. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. Thank you for the feedback. Okay. Rune USD. All right, Hack. Let's take a look. Rune. Where's that? Rune USD. Let's take a look at that. All right, so again, a lot of these altcoins, it's funny. I'm not getting as many questions for altcoins as I was before. I mean, I used to get Cardano, XRP, all these other garbage ones, and now no one's asking about them. That's interesting, right? Anyway, so Rune, this is a lower high. All right, so that's not good, and it tried to pop with Bitcoin, so obviously it's still following. Bitcoin's pulling back slightly, and you get this red candle. It's a red inside bar. This is weak. All right, so first of all, Bitcoin needs to break 40K for these things to start getting somewhere. You have to look at these in terms of Bitcoin or relative to Bitcoin. You have the potential higher low area, but like I said, you're fighting a lower high, right? You're fighting the bearish momentum at the moment. So this thing needs to prove itself. The low here, this low back here, $7.81, that's equivalent to 30K, right? That's when Bitcoin pushed 30K the first time, these things made those lows. So if Bitcoin tests 30K again, I expect that low to be tested again, or maybe even broken. So these are not attractive for longs, okay? In order to be attractive for a long, the first thing I want to see, and yes, it means I have to forfeit good prices. Like, let me give you an example. Right now, this thing is at $8, basically $8.60, right? Basically. And in order for me to be more confident with these, it needs to clear resistance, which is here, up here. What is that price? $13.74. So you sit there and you'll say, wow, you're going to wait $5? This thing has to go up $5 before you're even thinking about buying it? I thought you didn't like to buy highs. Well, no, the reason why I forfeit such a good price is because I want to see a better structure. This structure is not favorable. So I'd rather forfeit the $5. The reason is that $5 in between here and there is very expensive, meaning people are going to try buying it. They're going to try buying it. It's going to shake them out. They're going to take loss. They're going to buy it again. They're going to take a loss and blah, blah, blah. And that $5 becomes a lot more than $5 on the wrong side. So, yeah, I don't like it. And I'm sure a lot of these altcoins are going to look similar. Hey, LFE, ACMR. Let's see, ACMR. Let's take a look. Okay, what is this? ACM Research. And also, if it's a coin you're asking about, please just put USD after it so I know, because I don't want to spend time on the wrong symbol. All right, so ACM. Let's open this up a bit and see what's going on here. How much is this thing? $84 about. All right. So this is interesting because the stock has been kind of all over the place, right? It had this nice bullish situation for a while. It broke these supports, but it found support here in this area, which is what? 64 basically. Okay, and it rallied off of there nicely. Okay, that's good. It broke this, or it's testing this resistance now. So you have a potential breakout here. Okay, those are all good positive signs. Okay, breaking that, and it's coming off the higher low. So in this situation, you can consider this for an aggressive breakout. All right, you have the higher low in place. It's going for the higher high. What do you have to risk if you're okay with that situation? Because again, it can fail, right? And these aren't the best prices for this type of situation, although the structure is improving. Okay, after the improvement of the structure, then I want to see a higher low. That's typically what I'd like to see. That higher low area would be around 74, 75. All right, so that would be a much more attractive, much more ideal situation for a swing trade, but the market may not deliver that. So if you want to take the aggressive route, which is this, and you're buying this now at basically 84.68, give it a little room. You figure like 85-ish, something like that. Your risk can be defined by this low, which is what? 79.5, so you figure 78. So you're looking at a good 5 or 6 points of risk, okay, which means you need to make 5 or 6 points. Is that within reason? Yeah, that's within reason to get to one-to-one reward risk on something like this. Well, you have to watch out for these aggressive breakouts. Again, I'm not a big fan of them, but it doesn't mean that they don't work, okay? The reason why I especially don't like to encourage them is because if they fail, you have to be quick, right? Like, let me just give you an example. I could find an example like back here, right? See this price action back here? Breakout. Here, let's cover all this up. Let's say this is all we saw. And you're like, oh, higher low, breakout. That's a trade, right? It's a trade. Sure, you could take the trade, but if it fails right away, like it does that right there, you need to adjust, because that is not what that's not what follow through looks like. So of course in this situation, right, it starts to get all over the place, and eventually it works its way higher. And this, something like that, what this does, this type of situation, is it encourages or reinforces the wrong behavior. The wrong behavior is, I bought the breakout, it failed, but the market came back for me. I'm so relieved now. Okay, oh yeah, look, wow, new highs. Oh yeah, okay, great. I know how to trade. Okay, so it reinforces the wrong behaviors. It reinforces hope mode. You can't be in that. You have to take the loss, right? That's the smart thing to do, because what if this thing got cut in half? It could have, all right? So that's what you have to keep in mind. Many stocks that I know of got cut in half, and and you get caught in those situations, not you specifically, but people get caught in those situations because they go into hope mode. You need to be able to make that adjustment if it fails and get out, take the loss. You can always get back in, okay? There will be times you take a couple of small losses, but let me tell you, a small loss is better than getting cut in half. All right, so let me see what else I have here. Great questions. Okay, so here's a good question about, do I think the Bitcoin situation is the same as 2017, 2018? Okay, no. And the reason why, it's a good question, Ed, and the reason why I say no is because you can't look at, they say history repeats itself, right? And that's true in the markets, but you have to put that in the right context. 2017, 2018, right? That's way back. Let's go way back, right? That's this peak over here. It's a different situation because, for one, we had a different amount of players in the market. Back here, institutions were just getting involved. They were just starting to, first futures contract came out just after that peak and all that other stuff. So institutions were not involved. Big companies were not involved yet. Okay, this is all mostly retail. So today we have, big names in this thing. We have large institutions. We have people like Elon Musk talking about it, which they weren't talking about it back then. They weren't doing the things that they're doing today, right? Tesla wasn't buying any Bitcoin and all that other stuff back then. If they were, they weren't talking about it. So, so today we have a different environment. So no, I would not go by that. And you can't look at history repeats itself that way. You can't look at a chart. And I see people make this mistake all the time. They look back at a chart and they say, oh, back in 2012, the same pattern appeared. And look, it's the same thing now. It's going to repeat. You can't go by that because it's just a random coincidence. When you can't look at it that way. So yeah, to answer your question, it's not the same. Don't have any opinions. The other problem with that whole idea is it'll give you an opinion because you're like, oh, well, it made it like that, back then, so I'm expecting the same thing now. You can't do that. Let the market tell you what it wants to do. It provides plenty of information. All you have to do is listen to it. Okay, so it's a good question. Thank you for asking. This isn't Wedge. I appreciate that, Wedge. But there is a psychological thing to sound quality. And if the sound is really hard, if it's really hard to listen to, it just makes it unpleasant. So I'm trying to accommodate everyone, at all different levels, right? Psychologically. Okay, cool. Anyway, I'm just fooling around. Thanks. Zelta, how about MCD? Let's take a look. MCD. Here we go back with the market stocks. Okay, so market stock, meaning whatever the market does, this is going to do, right? S&P strong. I'm not surprised to see this strong. This will probably also benefit from inflation because why? They raise their food prices and they're not going to lower their food prices, even though their food prices are generally cheap, right? Anyway, there's still inflation. They will benefit from inflation. So here's the thing. This is look at this. The stock is strong, okay? Clearly, higher lows, higher highs. It's in a consolidation right now, which is trying to break out of. And this is what it should be doing with an S&P that's as strong as it is, okay? Or Dow that's as strong as it is. This is what it should be doing. It's following the market. Okay, fine, no problem. So if you want to take this, you're betting on the market, all right? And it's got the setup. You have a higher low here at 231. All right, basically a 231 area, so your risk could be defined from around there. This thing right now is at 234. You're going for the breakout, right? 234.36. So basically 234 half, and then you're looking for a continuation. You're going to need the S&P to go with you on this. All right, if you take something like this. If you take this and the S&P fails, this is going to fail. It's not going to go on its own. All right, even if it shows like one little bullish thing, it's going on its own. No, it's not. Not if the S&P fails. When the S&P fails, I'm not talking about a couple of points. S&P failing means like 50 points, 100 points, 200 points. Not in one day. Something like that can take days. But that's what you have to be careful of. But overall, you're betting on a stronger stock market here. Okay, but structurally, everything makes sense in terms of reward risk. Is this thing making all-time highs? I think it is. Yeah, look at that. I think those are all-time highs. Going back, it hasn't been higher than this. So, you just have to be prepared to get out if it gives you a hard time. Also, justify your risk as soon as possible. If you're risking 4 or 5 points, you need to make 4 or 5 points, okay, at least before getting out, unless you get a clear sell signal and you have to adjust sooner. Okay, so good question on MCD. Olga wants to know about DOT. I'm guessing DOT USD. Okay. Again, so ADA. If you want to know about an altcoin, just make sure you put USD. So again, this is following Bitcoin. Okay. All these altcoins, like I said before, like when we looked at XRP, look the same. They all have lower highs right here. Right. They all have lower highs, just like Bitcoin has a lower high at 40K. Right now, DOT is giving you a bearish pin bar. So when we look at these altcoin charts, you have to realize that the price action on them is just a reflection of Bitcoin. So the chart is not going to give us really any valuable information here. People that treat these things like individual stocks don't know what they're doing. If they should know by now. If they're a guru and they're selling information or a service, they should know by now that these things all follow Bitcoin. And looking at these charts are pretty much a reflection of that. Now, some may outperform somewhat. Some may be relatively weak, but this right here, this is a lower high. We got a bearish pin bar. Bitcoin goes lower. This thing's going lower. All right, that's what this thing looks like. If I was shorting these things and this was a stock, I would look to short something like that. Okay, so again, we don't short Bitcoin. We don't short these things. I'm just making that as an example, but that's what I'm looking at. If you're in this, I don't know what to tell you. I hope you're not in that. for these coins like DOT and the other ones that we looked at, you need to wait for supports, right? Support here is at 18 and a half, around there. This thing isn't, it's 22.70, all right, so about 18 and a half, and you need Bitcoin to agree with you. If Bitcoin does not produce the higher low and it breaks 30K, these things are not going anywhere. So I would not be in a hurry to get into these. All right, so thank you for asking. Let's see, Cardano, USDT, let's take a look. Yeah, same story, right? You're looking for supports, $1.40 is your support. Bearish candles all over the place. All right, so there's no buy signals in these things right now. They tried to deliver a buy signal with Bitcoin, right? When Bitcoin gave the buy signal, Bitcoin performed much better than all of these. And as you can see, they're all failing, right? Because the party's over. These things are probably, with this type of price action, because that buy signal went nowhere fast, most likely if they start breaking their supports, you're going to see a long consolidation. So if you're going to get involved, I would wait for better levels, for one. For two, these aren't the best choices for inventory, okay? Because most of them are projects that have no real value. They just have a lot of hype and a lot of talk and a lot of great ideas, but they have no real value. So, they're not great investment grade vehicles. Now you'll say, but my friend made $1 million and he bought VeChain when it was like fraction of a penny. Right. Those are called lottery tickets, and these, you're going to see some lottery ticket type of moves in these. That's just natural to a market, but they're like penny stocks. So most of these are going to go nowhere for a long time. And then a few of the ones that can prove themselves will be your next lottery tickets. Which ones those will be, no one knows, okay? Just like Amazon 20 years ago. I bring that up all the time. Amazon was $5 20 years ago. No one thought it was going to be $3,000 in 20 years. No one. None of the greatest experts in the world could call Amazon at $3,000, right? Because no one knows. Amazon, they figured, was one of the .com garbage stocks. Most of the .com garbage stocks are no longer listed, okay? But Amazon proved itself. So anyway, that's what you have to keep an eye out for. Right now, these things don't look good. So thank you for asking about that one. SOL, okay. This was another, talk about hype. This was a big hype one. In fact, people are asking, they're saying, oh, but it's outperforming Bitcoin. Okay, well, it tried, but as you can see, right, it's not going anywhere. So usually you get this little outperformance type of price action. You get this type of stuff because you have to understand how a lot of these things work. They have chat rooms, and they push a lot of hype in these chat rooms. Some people don't know any better, so they listen to the hype. That's where you get that buying action from. Or they put out some news. They pump these things, so they start to outperform a bit, and everyone gets all excited. But if Bitcoin goes nowhere, they're not going to go very far. All right, that's the general tendency. So with something like this, wouldn't touch it at these levels, especially this level. This is a resistance, right? No way would I go near this thing for a long. We got to see a pullback, right? You got to see a pullback, and your price is around what, 33 and a quarter, around there. That would be one attractive level to consider for these. Again, I'm talking about swing trades. Like I just said, I don't like these as investments. If you're going to invest in this space, you're better off sticking to a leader like Bitcoin, Litecoin, not even Bitcoin or Ethereum, because at least they're proven and they're the most well known. These things, most of these, they're not worth the risk, especially if you're going to throw like $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 into these things. You got to be nuts to do that. The risk is so high. These are highly speculative. Matic, same story with Matic. This was one of the outperformers. When Bitcoin had that big pullback and tried to bounce, everyone said, "Whoa, look at Matic." I remember looking at this. This one and MKR were outperforming. Look at them now. Garbage, right? Garbage. Now, this is a better location than the high, but like I said, what's it proving here? It's proving that it can't do anything on its own. It needs Bitcoin. So you have a couple of inside bars, even if you get the buy signal here, right? Bitcoin gave us a buy signal, and these tried, and these things are about to stop out. If we took this buy signal here, it's practically stopping out. Okay, so I wouldn't do anything here. If you want to be in these, really, Bitcoin needs to be the gauge. And if Bitcoin finds its high or low and you want to get involved in one of these, I mean, you're probably better off getting into something that really has more movement potential. Maybe Litecoin. I don't even know with these. Maybe Ethereum would be a better choice. I know these things like Matic are cheaper, but like I said, if these are in, if they're going into like the long consolidation, they're going to go nowhere for a while, and there's going to be a lot of false starts and all this stuff. It's just part of the hype cycle, and everyone got hyped into these things back in February, March, when I was telling people to stay away from those highs. Okay, kept saying stay away, stay away. Go watch my videos, you can see them. And everyone was saying, oh, no, we're not going to listen to you because we're going to get rich. Okay, bought the highs. I told you stay away from them. All right, Olga, how low retracement do you see before we start? So, again, so if you're talking about Bitcoin, 35K, 33 to 35 is the higher low area. And if it clears that, if it breaks it without any effort, like just clears it, you're looking back at 30K. All right, right now, there's no way to know what it's going to do. All right, we have a red candle. If it closes like this, okay, doesn't really mean much. It needs to prove itself around levels. If this red candle gets big and takes out 30K, that would be a new piece of information at that point. And the structure favors that because it's a lower high right now. That can change, but that's what the structure favors, a break of 30K. All right, we're long and we're willing to give it the chance that we get the higher low. Again, it's all about what we're willing to risk. And you know, we're in from a good price, so we can afford to give money back, right? It's just profit we're giving back at this point. All right, so thank you for asking. Hey, just want to, oh, Estonia, nice, thank you. Mr. One, I like that, one and only, cool. I guess you're sort of like Mr. Wonderful. All right, Zelta, please, MA. All right, let's take a look. All right, I'm going to wrap this up soon. I've been doing pretty good on time. I like to be able to answer everyone's questions. MasterCard. All right, so this is interesting. We're talking about credit cards and banking. Now, this sector, by the way, financial sector, here, let's take a look at Goldman Sachs real quick. I mean, this sector has been leading the S&P. This and energy. If we take a look at like energy stocks, I mean, look at them. They're on their highs, right? VLO is an energy stock, Valero. So, you know, going back to your credit card there, this one, as you saw, like Goldman Sachs, was doing pretty good. How's Visa doing? Let's see. Look at Visa, for example. So competitor, right? Visa is on its highs, practically, following the market. These are generally market stocks. Like I said, the financial sector has been leading the S&P. Not making new highs yet. So we compare this to MasterCard. Why isn't this thing on its highs? It should be. The entire sector is holding the market up, and this thing is consolidating. That's relative weakness. So maybe you're thinking, oh, maybe it'll play catch up. That's possible because this consolidation area is a higher low, okay? So if you break out of the consolidation, it's not a bad idea, but you can't ignore the relative weakness, right? Relative weakness is something you can't see. There's nothing on the chart here that says relative weakness. What I'm looking at is this price and this structure, which is a lot lower than its peers and the S&P. So if S&P is on its highs and this thing is on a lower, it's basically establishing a lower high, that's a problem. It should be on its highs also, like Visa. So it's relatively weak. So what that means for me is I would avoid this because if the S&P breaks, right, this thing is likely to break its support. So I don't want to be involved in that. I would wait on something like this, let it break its resistance first, and then give you a higher low or something. Of course, in that scenario, I would imagine the S&P is making dramatic new highs. Okay, so use that as your guide. Especially, this is, you know, MasterCard is a market stock, and like I've been telling people for swing trades, I'm not a big fan of market stocks because we are reliant on the S&P and on the NASDAQ, and when they turn, everything is going to turn, especially these. So thank you for asking. Hack. Who will hit it first? Bitcoin 42K. Hold on. GDX 58. Okay, so GDX. I think gold goes first. Here's GDX, right? Because gold is strong. Gold is in a seasonally strong time. Like I said before, I'm planning on calling a swing trade. I may call that swing trade on gold, but gold is seasonally strong. We have a higher low here. And all you have to do is break this high at 39. So, well, 58 you said on GDX. Where is that? No, 58, that's too high. No way. Bitcoin will probably reach 42K before this thing Bitcoin moves much faster, right? Bitcoin only has to move 5,000 points, whatever, 6,000 points, and it's there. This thing, 58, it'll take another couple of months if it's going to do it. But great structure on GDX. So I like, I talked about the gold stocks earlier. I have no problem with longs, right? You define your risk at 37.98 area on this thing. As long as it stays above that, you should be okay. Okay. You need to at least justify that. What is this thing right now? 30. So basically 39. You're looking at about $2, maybe $2.50 worth of risk. You need to make that, right? At least to justify your risk, which means that should be where your first profit target is, and you should be taking something off the table there if you get involved in something like that. But definitely it's a play on gold, right? If I'm calling a gold swing trade and you can't trade XAU, this would be a good alternative. So thank you. Thank you for mentioning. Okay, the market seems had great differences on the dollar index. So, okay, well, look at now the dollar. Well, we looked at the bonds before, right? The bond futures. Bond futures price is going higher, which means the yields are going lower, which means a weak dollar, right? That's what that means. And weak dollar is just another sign of inflation. So, I mean, this outside candle on the dollar has been in a bearish trend generally for a long time, as we could see. It recently tried to give us a bullish run there, but it couldn't break those resistances from back here, from March. So now we have another possible lower high in place. I don't know. This thing looks like it's going to go for the lower low. I mean, that's what it looks like. So if that's the case, that's inflation, right? That's what the dollar index is telling us. So that's good for gold, right? And it's generally a bullish pressure for stocks, generally. But things can change quickly. That's why I don't sit here and get married to opinions. All right, I don't have any opinions. Like the market changes, I adjust. You have to be prepared for that. So thanks for mentioning that. Hey, Scott, I was away for the Bitcoin trade. Okay, so all right, no problem. When you take profit at a right level, is it worth going in afterwards to take profit? Okay, well, that's a good question, Scott. Right, so obviously the Bitcoin trade reached its first target. That was pretty quick, right? Within a day. Those are nice when they do that. Well, in this situation, it depends on what your reward risk. If you're over, usually the first target is 1-to-1. So at this point, it's a tough call. I mean, because you really should be getting 1-to-1. One thing you can consider is, and you should have those orders in advance, right? So that you don't sit there and actually have to place the order when the market gets there. But the thing is, if this turns into a sell signal, meaning either the candle closes red and it takes out the low, then that's a sell signal. It wouldn't be a bad idea to just take whatever you can at that point, at least 1/3 off as your target one. So yeah, it's a lower target one, but it would be wise to reduce your risk if you get the sell signal. Okay, and maybe it doesn't follow through, and maybe like, I shouldn't have gotten out. But you can't look at it that way. You have to look at it as the risk, because if that sell signal does follow through, this thing is going to go to 30K. Right, so you have to decide: do you want to hold it and give it a chance for the higher low? And what if the market doesn't produce the higher low? Okay, how are you going to feel then if this thing goes to 30K and breaks it? So it's always about risk first, right? I always tell everyone risk first. So that would be in this situation, that would probably be the more effective thing to do. Reduce your risk at the sign of a sell signal. This candle may reverse in the next few hours and turn green. In that case, you just hold on and get out at target 1. Okay? But if the sell signal establishes itself, that would be a good time to at least reduce by 1/3. And then you hold on to the other 2/3 if you want to, and they may go to the stop. But at least you reduced your risk by 1/3. Right? We focus on risk. So thank you for asking. Okay? KSM, sure. All right, how am I doing with time? All right, so a couple more minutes. I'm going to answer KSM. Olga, man, you got a lot of questions, Olga. Link T-Fuel, I don't even know what that is. Okay, from South Africa. All right, so I'm going to do KSM and Luna. So KSM, I remember this stock. KSM, I'm sorry, not stock, coin. So this one was pretty wild not too long ago. So, and then look at this. So like I said before, you get these situations where they get all pumped up, right, for whatever reason, and they start doing their own thing. KSM is one of those that tries to do its own thing. But as you can see, it doesn't get very far. When Bitcoin turns to garbage, this thing says, oh, well, I am a coin. I have to go, I have to follow. So that's what it's doing here. generally, this isn't, the fact that it's acting relatively strong is a good sign. The problem is you can't touch this here. You're in the midst of a resistance area while Bitcoin is possibly going to go back to test support. So I would definitely keep this one on the radar and watch for supports. Your first support on this thing is around 342, around there, right? That would be, hold on a second here. KSM, yeah, okay. Around that 342 area, let me see, 342, what was that? 342, so you could say 342 and a half, around there. That would be this area here. That's your first support. All right, so if you can get some structure there and you want to give that one a try, okay, it's worthwhile for a swing trade because it's acting somewhat relatively strong. But like I said, if Bitcoin doesn't agree with these things, they don't go very far. So I'm not a big fan at all. And if anything, right now, it's in a failure area. Okay, this thing can turn into a failed breakout if this candle closes like that and takes out the low, especially with Bitcoin looking the way it's looking. So I would wait for that support. If that support clears, by the way, if it's broken, you're looking at these lows again, 260 area. That's what you're looking at. So very risky, and it doesn't have much potential on the bullish side, especially since Bitcoin's potential is now limited if it is in the wave 4, which is what we're anticipating. Okay, so Luna, LUNA USD. Let's take a look. Okay, so this one again, this one has no relative strength at all. It got beat up in that Bitcoin situation, right? Got beat up when Bitcoin went to 30K. And like many coins, they're all showing lower highs, okay? This lower high situation, like KSM looked much better than this. I mean, you could see the difference in the charts. This is a lower high. Not only that, you have this bearish pin bar developing here, right? So it takes out these lows, just like I would expect Bitcoin. If Bitcoin takes out its low, if Bitcoin clears 34K, whatever, these things will probably start taking out their lows, 489, right? And I'd be expecting a test of low at that point because there's a lower high in place, right? So that's what you have to keep in mind there. With these altcoins, to really start getting back involved with them, the conservative thing to do is wait for a clear of the resistance. Wait for the resistance to break. In bearish environments or with bearish momentum, resistances hold. They don't break. So if we get a break, that's a change, right? And I would be expecting Bitcoin to be doing a similar thing by breaking 40K. That's why, that swing trade we sent out was highly aggressive because we're going against the bearish momentum, but it doesn't mean that bearish momentum won't change. So we're willing to take that chance, right? But the reward risk, we didn't have to risk 8,000 points to do that, right? That's why it was attractive. All right, anyway, so thank you for asking. Okay, I got to wrap this up now. I'm sorry if I missed your question. Let me see. Okay. Oh, nice. Iowa. Oh, heck, I didn't know from Iowa. Cool. All right, everyone. So thank you all for your questions. I appreciate the great the compliments and the questions and the feedback and everything. I'm going to try to fix this sound so that it's better for next time. These things, technology. So again, if I missed your question, I apologize. I'll just leave you with this. I mean, let me just go back to Bitcoin here. All right, I'm just going to wrap this up. Bitcoin is still the leader. All right, as much as you don't want it to be, it's still the leader. And wherever it goes, most of these coins will follow. Some of them are acting relatively strong, but most of them are not. Right? So if Bitcoin takes out that support, many of those coins are going to take out support. The problem right now is a lot of people are still in hope mode because they got all brainwashed back when these things were pushing their highs, thinking that these are safe investments. They're not safe. They're altcoins. They have no regulatory oversight. They have no real value. They're just there, right, for developers to sell their coins to you. So just something to keep in mind. If you want investment grade instruments, you really should be looking at dividend paying stocks for long-term stuff. All right? People are too wrapped up with these things for long-term because they saw so many people make money with lottery tickets, right? So it kind of gave the wrong idea. These are like penny stocks. So just something to keep in mind. I know a lot of people don't like when I say that because I don't deliver hype, I don't deliver hope, I don't push fake optimism on people. I'm just talking about reality, and you should be aware of it because this game really is about one thing, and that's not making money. And everyone goes, what do you mean? But I'm in this to make money. No, it's about risk, okay? So you need to really focus on risk, what you're willing to risk, what you're not willing to risk, right? And that will help you make better decisions, because if you're reacting to stuff, you're only going to be making emotional decisions, and those will lead you to making decisions that are not the best at the wrong times, right? You're basically banging out at lows because you're reacting to stuff. Meanwhile, that low may be an opportunity to buy. You just don't recognize it because you're emotional. So the point is, focus on risk. I talk about these things from the swing trade perspective, which is very short-term oriented. It's very important to understand that distinction. People usually just think a trade is a trade, but that's not the case at all. An investment is not the same as a trade. All right, so I'll leave you with that. If you have any other questions, find me. You can put some stuff in our free chat room. I'm just getting back into things here, so I'll be available now. If you're interested in Greenbridge or our signal service, all the links are, if you just click on the Show More section below the video, you'll see the links there and you can follow them. One thing I want to say is we do not day trade, right? So what that means is if you do the free trial, and I really have to emphasize this, if you do the free trial and you're expecting a lot of action, and I started out the video with this, you're not going to be happy. So don't go for the free trial. I'm telling you right now, we push a lot of patience. We don't trade for the sake of trading. If you want a lot of action, there are plenty of other fake gurus out there that will happily take your money and deliver action. Doesn't mean you'll make money, but you'll get action, right? Just like a casino. People don't go to a casino actually thinking they're going to come out making money. I mean, some people, they're hopeful, but usually you go to a casino to have fun because there's action, right? It's the same idea. So we don't push that, right? So like I said before, it took us 3 weeks to get into this Bitcoin trade. We haven't had one Bitcoin trade in 3 weeks. So if you go for the free trial, I want you to understand that you need to have that type of patience. Okay, we found some other trades here and there, but they've been very sporadic in this environment. We don't want to just sit, and not call trades. It's just what the environment calls for. All right, we're not going to force trades, is my point. Anyway, okay, that's too long of that rant. Just wanted to mention it so we're clear. So when we get people signing up, I don't get people, sending me emails. Hey, I didn't get your text message because we didn't send any out. Okay, so one thing you learn at Greenbridge is patience, right, and how to wait for stuff rather than just jumping into stuff or reacting to everything, because we plan things and we anticipate things. We don't react. All right. So anyway, all right. Thank you again, all, for your great for your support and for spending your afternoon with me here today, wherever you are in the world. Enjoy the rest of your day or the rest of your evening, and thank you so much for watching.